Hello chess friends and welcome to Art of Chess channel and welcome to the Nimzo-Indian defense series. So in this series we follow a very nice and effective weapon while playing against the d4 with the black pieces. So I think most of us had troubles while playing as black. We are searching for some good openings, for some good opening lines. Then we sometimes maybe we give up on some particular openings because your opponent has played a sideline which really annoys you. Then you start to find another opening, and then again the same thing happened to you. So we're avoiding this kind of stuff in this series. In this series I'll try to cover all of these possible lines, or at least most of them, because you have to know your sidelines when you're playing a chess game. So my nephew, he played a couple of weeks ago one particular game. He played with the black pieces. He's familiar with good opening lines, but he missed and his preparation was not good in one particular line, and he lost the game because he didn't know good continuation. So that's why I think we will have many videos in this series. I think we will have at least 40 videos. So like in the King's Indian series, if you have followed more on my YouTube chess channel, in the King's Indian series I have created over 45 videos while playing as black. So first of all, let's remind us of these common ideas of this Nimzo-Indian. If you just memorize these things that I've written down here for you, I think you have a good perspective of this Nimzo-Indian setups. Let's again remind us. So first of all, while trading off this bishop against the knight, you see in the continuation the main ideas of the Nimzo-Indian. It's basically a battle, knight versus bishop or bishop versus knight. So basically we're playing with the knight, so we want to have the position closed. The main idea is to have really the position closed. Fighting the bishop, it means that sometimes when your opponent has a dark square bishop, you don't have anymore the dark square bishop. It's really important to build dark square fortresses. It means that you should place most of your pawns on dark squares, because then the activity of your opponent's dark square bishop is not so good. Battling the center pawn storms, that's very important. I've created these ideas against this pawn storm in my previous video. I'll show you the link of my Nimzo-Indian series at the end of this video, so you can really follow all of these ideas in the continuation of the series. So positional trades of pieces, again, very important thing. Because your opponent has the bishop pair, you don't have the bishop pair. One of the ideas is maybe to trade off the light square bishops. Then your opponent is continuing the game with the knight and the bishop, and you're continuing with two knights, which can also be good if the position is of course closed. Sometimes it's even possible to have two knights versus two bishops endgame. You see this example now in the first instructive chess game that I wanted to show you today. And you should also be familiar with the elements of the blockade. I've explained this blocking systems in my previous video. So as said, when you watch this series, watch it from this introduction video, then part 1, part 2, part 3, because it's really important to watch it that way. And we will have, I think, a very nice opening against d4. So going into a favorable endgame, again, I'm pointing you out because as black you have a more healthier pawn structure. It's a good idea in the middle game. So basically our main strategical idea in the middle game is going to a favorable endgame. So it means you can trade off maybe as much as of these pieces as you can, and then maybe you're going really with a better pawn structure in endgame and can win a game very easily. So exploiting weaknesses, we'll see also in a couple of examples today. This very important recognizing of your opponent's weaknesses. So they are this main weaknesses. Weak pawns and weak squares are the most common weaknesses that you can exploit in your opponent's position. So this will be explained more now in this video. So in the last video we did this line: d4, knight on f6, c4, e6, knight on c3, now bishop on b4, a3, knight, bishop takes on c3, and b takes c3, and we have c5, which I recommend you. It's the most aggressive way to play against these setups. And here e3 was played. Today we'll analyze this knight on f3, but let's see in the continuation. Maybe we had knight on c6, and the difference between, in the last video, as I mentioned, we did this knight from g to e2 idea, and this knight on f3 ideas, that sometimes when you have your when your opponent places this knight on f3, it's possible to pin this knight with bishop on bishop on g4, and then your opponent cannot move the knight because of the pin on the queen. But in this setup it wasn't possible. If you try something like d6, e5, and bishop on g4, then your opponent can play f3 and really kick you away, then maybe after that to move e4. So let's see now this first instructive game in this knight on f3. So we are not searching for this knight on e2 idea. Here white will play this knight on f3 idea. So knight on f6, c4, e6, knight on c3, bishop on b4, and now again we have this a3, bishop takes on c3, b takes c3, and now we play again c5, and now knight on f3. Here I recommend you just simply to castle. Now we are playing on this idea, as I said, building fortresses on dark squares. So you see, as I mentioned also in my previous video, we should place d6, e5, b6. So these are the common moves in order to battle against this dark square bishop, because as I said, it's still always, when you play as black, it's always white has this slightly advantage in the beginning. So that's why you should play really the best moves here. As I said, dark square fortresses, d6, e5, b6, or even just h6 and g5 are also possible, because we have to battle against this dark square bishop. e3, and now knight on c6. You see, it's a different now. It's a different position, because as I said in this previous video, we have knight on g2 from g2 e2, and now we have maybe some pinning possibilities. Now after bishop on d3, here comes this idea, d6. So we are building again our fortress on dark squares, castling e5, just playing more forward, because we want to have a clarification in the center. Now we are battling here in the center, and as I said, the problem, the mistake that you can make is maybe to trade off here this pawns in the center. You see, you have improved the position of the pawn structure, and now it's a great game for this bishop, because we can play bishop on g5. Bishop is aiming here, knight on g5 possibility. So you should never improve your opponent's pawn structure here in the center. So we are waiting here after queen on c2. We don't want to do anything. We are playing now this provocative moves. We want to force our opponent to do something in the center. So we are waiting. Maybe your opponent will play d5, but then the pawn structure is not mobile anymore. Then we have a static pawn structure, and that's what we like when we play with the knight against the bishop. So as I said, we have the main idea here to play with the knight against the bishop. So here bishop on g4 was played. Now you see knight on f3 is vulnerable. Here d5 was played. I'm sorry I didn't say which instructive game this is. It's Igor Sitnik against Ivanisevic. Here bishop takes on f3. Now we have the situation in which we are playing with two knights against two bishops. Here g takes f3, and now knight on e7. But now you see we have a really static pawn structure in the center, and that's what we like. If your opponent tries something like f4, we would simply take e takes f4 and e takes f4. Again, we have created not such a good pawn structure for this bishop. So the bishops needs pawn storms. Then these pawns could maybe deflect this knight from f6, and then these bishops would be very good. But in this position, the bishops are not good. We should really search just for some improvements of this knight. Here in the continuation, king on h1 was played. We have knight on g6. It's not, we shouldn't worry here some bishop takes on g6 ideas, because then white has lost the idea to having the bishop pair in the continuation. Rook on g1 was played, and now queen on e7. Now the idea is, of course, rook on e8, and then e4, pardon me, really blocking this bishop out, because you see white has placed this pawn on e3, and if we manage to push the pawn here on e5, this bishop would be simply paralyzed by this pawn and this pawn on e3. So this is the main idea. If rook on b1 or similar ideas, again we are playing on this blockade. As I said, with the dark squares, we are playing the blockade on dark squares. Here bishop on d2 was played. Now comes this idea, rook on e8. Bishop on e2, we have now knight on h4. Is also a provocative move a little bit, because we're waiting again white to do something, playing maybe e4 or f4, and here e4 was played. And now you see this is now the idea. As I said, we should really sometimes realize this opponent's weaknesses. We should really exploit the weaknesses. The weakness can always be a weak pawn or a weak square. Now this f4 square is the main weakness. So basically what we want to do is place one of these knights on this very weak square here. Knight on g6 with the preparation to play knight on f4, but the more important thing is that we can play also knight on h5 and have two knights covered this very nice square. So rook on g5, h6 kicking away the rook. You're not staying there. So rook on g2, and now knight on h5, rook from a to g1, and now king on h8, getting out of this g file mess here. Of course, maybe there were some tactical possibilities. We are not allowing white any counterplay here. Rook on g4, and now queen on f6, even more supporting this f4 weakness. So you see, we're basically playing on one particular weakness, but it's really a huge one. Queen on c1, we have knight on f4, bishop takes on f4, we have e takes f4, h4 was played. Now rook on e5. You see, we are using now all of the spaces. We want to, of course, to play rook on h5, but look at this bishop now. This bishop is basically a pawn here. It's blocked out by this pawn structure in the center. So you could just imagine this position that white has a pawn on e2, not a bishop, because it's too blocked out. But that was all possible because we didn't allow our opponent to have this pawn storm in the center that I've also explained in my previous video. Please watch first these videos before that I've created. I think they're really important in order to get a better understanding of this video. You have to have all the sidelines covered. So as I said, rook on g2 was the continuation here. Rook on e8. Here we have rook on h2, and now very nice move, h5, rook on g1, and now we can take a pawn here. Queen on f1 was played, and now closing the position here, g5, again a very powerful blocking move. I'm not going to show you now the whole game. I hope you realize that well, black is simply better here. Here you can also try to improve the position of the king. Rook on g8 is also a possibility. As said, here we are pawn up. We have a nice activity. Maybe we can also go after these pawns. Many now attacking ideas we have here in the continuation of the game. So of course here Ivanisevic with the black pieces won the game very easily. So let's see now another example. Again, we have the setup with the knight on f3. Some ideas can be here by our opponent. We can also play sometimes here the move b6. It meets with the same idea to create fortresses on dark square. So we have now b6, again d6 and e5 possibilities. But this b6 is an idea to play bishop on a6 and maybe knight on c6, and then after that knight on a5 and attack this weak pawn. So as I said, the main weaknesses in the position can be a weak pawn or a weak square. So in this previous example we had a weak square. Now we're exploiting this weak pawn here on c4. In the I'm sorry, again, I didn't tell you which instructive game this is. It's Kari Juhani Sori against Yuri Balashov. Here e3, and now bishop on b7. Bishop on d3, we have d6, castling, and now knight on d2. And you see, white tried not to allow here this bishop takes on f3 idea to get this position in which we are playing two knights against two bishops. So that's why he gets out of this mess. And here in the continuation, black tried knight on c6. It gave now the white the opportunity to play knight on e4. We have knight takes on e4, bishop takes on e4, but now knight on a5. As I said, one of the main ideas is this positional trades of pieces. So trading off this light square bishops. It's really an easy but powerful idea while playing the Nimzo-Indian. Here after bishop takes on b7, knight takes on b7. Okay, the position is much more simplified, but your opponent doesn't have anymore this advantage of the bishop pair. And again, I'm pointing you out that again we have created a weak bishop situation. So here the bishop is again blocked out by these pawns, and now we are just searching for improvements of the position. Try to play slowly here. You cannot win this game very easily. You have to play positionally slowly and just exploiting your opponent's weaknesses. As I said, here d5, not a problem. We don't want to take, of course, e takes d5. That's the most important thing. Never, but never improve the position of the pawn structure in the center by your opponent. Here, after c takes d5 and c4 and e4, then this bishop would be very good, but not. Of course, here e5, the most important move here. Now we can create again this dark square fortress against this dark square bishop, and with these 3 pawns on dark squares, this is a bad bishop situation. So here e4 was played, improving now finally the position of the bishop, but now f4. Now we have this block pawn structure in the center. It's possible now to open some file, and we are a little bit faster because we have played this attack very fast here. E takes f5, rook takes on f5, queen on g4, queen on f6, and now rook on a2. We have now knight on a5. As I said, the main weakness here is the pawn on c4, so that's why here bishop on e3 was played. We have rook on f8 and now f3. And now of course we want to trade off these queens because the queen is the key defender of this pawn on c4. Queen on g6, a simple idea here. Queen takes on g6, h takes g6. We have rook on e1, but now finally knight on c4, and this is now again a new weakness in the position. We have now the target here, this pawn d5, and I'm not going to show you again the whole game. We're a pawn up. This is a huge advantage in such an endgame, and here black also won the game very easily. So let's again see another example. It's a gameplay by Nenad Mrkonjic against Ivan Leventic, and I'm gonna send you all of these PGNs in the description below so you can analyze these games for yourself. But it's not for me to show you now these tactical ideas or these tactical possibilities. I just want you to understand this this Nimzo-Indian defense from this positional point of view. Here your opponent can try bishop on f4. Again, I'm pointing you out that the main weaknesses are these pawns, the c3 and c4, and now we're playing simply queen on a5, attacking this c3 weakness. If your opponent tries something like queen on d2, then knight on e4 is very powerful, and this pawn would be unprotected. So that's why bishop on d2 had to be played, and then it's really a loss of tempo here for white because he has played already twice with the same bishop. Now queen on c7, we have e3, and again this bishop is simply paralyzed by its own pawns. Unbelievable stuff. So again, we are playing on the dark square fortress, but also with a double function. We want to develop now our light square bishop. Bishop on e2, knight on c6, castling, and now bishop on a6. We are exploiting now this c4 weaknesses. Now bishop on e1, knight on a5, and here knight on d2 had to be played in order to defend. But now you see c takes d4, c takes d4, and now we can simply take bishop takes, knight takes on c4, and here after bishop on b4, rook on c8, queen on b3, and now a5. Playing a counterattack, also a good possibility can be here to play d5, and again we have placed a very nice outpost of this knight. We're a pawn up, so again this is completely winning for black. But again, I'm pointing you out, you have to play many moves. This is now an endgame stage. You have to be accurate also in an endgame level. But with the pawn up here, again, with the very well placed knight on c4, I think it's completely winning here for black. Okay, I hope you realize these ideas. I want you really to memorize these things. These are the most important strategic elements. You can write it down for yourself. Try to search for these ideas while playing the Nimzo-Indian. We'll continue to follow this great series. I think we will have a very nice and effective weapon against d4, and I'm really looking for this long journey of this very nice opening. Okay, meanwhile you can watch my previous 2 videos from the series, and you can also watch my King's Indian series if you want to see a more direct opening while playing against d4, and you can also subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.